as well.
Career long at least. Yeah.
Career long. Well, that was my next question. There are many teachers in the field who are trying to connect theory with practice and differentiated instruction. Some of them are friends of mine personally. I've had a little experience myself, and I've run into colleagues up at Harvard that have said, oh, I've done differentiation, and maybe they went to one workshop up someplace in Massachusetts, or they've read a book, one of your books. But I want to ask you directly, do you have any words of wisdom to help all of us who are out in the field overcome the challenges to carry through with your goals? Very often schools will say, we don't have the money for the in-service, for what it will take, or one particular teacher is swinging in the wind because they've had you and they're dealing with a faculty that's seasoned, that's very experienced, very knowledgeable, but they look at DI perhaps as, oh, just another new fad. Very often you will have teachers who feel that they have to have a scripted curriculum because of NCLB or some of the pressures that teach for the tests that have happened. And somehow they just don't have tools to make this work. They understand it in theory, but you can't do it in a vacuum. And I'm wondering if you have any ideas as how we can...
Well, the first thing I'd say about that is, as long as they're Carol Tomlinson's ideas, they're not going to go anywhere. They have to be somebody else's too. And again, I don't think the term differentiation or a particular, particular book is going to win the day. What a book's good for is to help you develop your own ideas around a set of principles.
So it's inspired.
Yeah, I mean, a model can give you some clarity, and it can help you think, I'm missing that part, or, yep, that seems really important to me too, but it's not a recipe, it's a guide. And you asked me a lot of things. I mean, you injected a lot of things there. In fact, a teacher can learn to differentiate alone and in a vacuum. There are teachers in every school that do that, where they have a vision of what they want their classrooms to be for kids, where they really have a sense that what they need to be is a leader of a team, where the kids work with them toward particular goals. And this is true for high school, as elementary, primary, middle school, makes no difference. And you have teachers who really see kids as individuals, and once you see them as individuals, you can't keep treating them like a pack. And so an individual teacher can learn to differentiate alone. Some things that I've seen that have been really impressive have been where one grade level or one department in a high school said, let's ask some questions. What evidence do we have that what we're doing is working, and for whom? And if we see some evidence that some kids aren't flourishing, or some kids are marching in place because all we expect of them is to know stuff, they already know it, we have no future for them, let's sort of ask ourselves, so what else could we do? How else could we do this? And you see one little facet of a school that can really move someplace. You don't have to have a whole heck of a lot of money. I mean, the truth of the matter is, now with technology, and I know that's something you're interested in, I talk to people through Skype, which costs pretty much nothing, and you can actually get teachers asking and answering questions, and you could do that with schools that are practicing differentiation, another school that wants to learn how. There are really lots of things you can do that way. But the best thing is really just for a teacher to ask the big questions. How well do I know these kids? And if I knew them, what benefit could that be for me and for them? To what degree do the kids trust me to guide their journey as learners? To what degree do they feel like this is a place that challenges and supports them rather than just throws stuff out at them and assumes it's supposed to stick somehow? How am I using assessment, and what's the good of it? I mean, to what degree does it really help anybody to say, ooh, I have 25 grades this semester, if I've got a student who's making D's and F's all the time and I didn't do anything about it? How can I use that in assessment information? Lorna Earle, who's a Canadian educator whose work I really like a lot, says in one of her books, so here's the deal about differentiation. And she doesn't say it quite this way. This next sentence isn't hers, but you could add it in there. Let's not look at it as some big hoo-ha word. Let's just kind of look at a little logic in education. Here's the deal. If you have real clear curriculum goals, and you continually monitor to see where students are relative to those goals, what you're going to find out is they're not all in the same place. And if you care, then differentiation isn't an extra, it's just the next logical step. And I think if we talk to each other in those terms, had leaders, whether they're principals or grade level leaders or department chairs or team leaders in middle school, asking those questions, so what are those goals and who cares anyhow, and why should a kid care about those? And how do you know where the kids are relative to those, and how do you know who's missing stuff to help them get there, and how do you know who's ahead, and what interests do they have so that you can make this more relevant, and might they learn in different ways? And let's use the assessment data to find out about that readiness stuff and what they care about and how they learn. And once you start getting that, man, you got a spread of kids here, so what you going to do about it? And it doesn't cost you a penny to do that. If you can talk with your colleagues, that's all it takes. Don't have to be rich, don't have to have a lot of stuff, have to have a little inquiring mind, and a partner wouldn't hurt.